What is happening out there, Rotoscouts baseball fans? Welcome to a Thursday show, gang. A little afternoon action going on around the league, but we're here to talk about a tiny little free gamer tonight. Yanks just got shut out. One hit. Jeffrey Springs took a no-hitter into the seventh. Fell awkwardly off the mound and then promptly walked a guy, gave up a hit. But Yankees couldn't capitalize. It's been a minute since the Yankees have scored a run. Hasn't been great. Hopefully your day went better than theirs did. Getting down to the end of the week. Thursday, it's basically the weekend. Friday, who's going to check in on Friday really at work? So hopefully things are going well for you guys out there. Andy's here, DraftKings here. A couple people making their way in for probably what will be a lightly attended quick show. Quick for us. Still got to get basketball projections done, though. So we'll get through this one. Beyond the rabbit holes here. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you. Ugly day yesterday in a lot of ways. A lot of different things just kind of went sideways on that big broken up slate throughout the day. Just a wacky one in general. But hopefully you guys did well out there. I only had one lineup going in that early contest, one lineup going in that late contest because I was just going to be out of it. Hopefully I made any sense. I woke up. I got the hockey and basketball projections done. Took a nap. Woke up from that nap not entirely sure if I had actually done a baseball show or just dreamt about doing a baseball show, and I kind of panicked and actually had to go check. I was tired yesterday, but hopefully I made some sense. Hopefully we landed on a few good things. I think we got a good handle on this little three-gamer for tonight. It's interesting. There's, one potentially ace-level pitcher in Nolan McLean. There's a veteran who's been really interesting over his first two starts with a new pitch mix in Erod in this first game. And then it's a bunch of the Rockies are going with an opener followed by Chase Dollander. We've got Randy Vasquez opposing them. We've got Seth Lugo on the bump. It is just not a very pretty pitching slate. But we'll get into this one. We'll break it down real quick. You can see KC pulling the highest total at 5.19 implied runs. Not a bad spot for them, but I imagine they're going to be ludicrously popular against Anthony K. That said, they're easy to reach. They're expensive and they're highly totaled. They're easy to reach with what's available on this board, though. I was just clicking together some lineups before the show. But as mentioned, it's Erod, it's Nolan McLean in this one to open up. Mets pulling a 4.03 implied total. That's a low overall total for the New York Mets and for a game against Erod over the past couple seasons. But he was really, really good in the WBC. He's been lights out over his first two starts here, so I think he's getting a little bit of credit for that. Also, still just a cool day here. It's a lot nicer than the 30-degree days. My heat's all over the place. It's way too warm in this room right now. It's been 30 degrees overnight and during some afternoons, and then it spikes up to 70 degrees, and today we're in like the 50s. Really annoying, but still not quite peak baseball weather. Just a 7-run total in that. McLean getting plenty of respect early in his career. Kid's good. That said, a couple few earned runs over his first two starts. Struck out 8 over 5 against Pittsburgh in his first one. Kind of bounced along, faced 19 hitters over 5 in the third against San Francisco out west in his second one. 4 strikeout, 2 walk. An okay, not great DFS start, I would think is fair. And then going up against a capable, at least up top, but kind of diminished-looking Arizona lineup, it's not the easiest sell when everybody in the world is going to include him on this slate. Anthony K, as mentioned, going for the White Sox. White Sox coming in at a 3.92 implied total. I actually have the other low-end team from this slate creeping ahead of them. They were almost creeping ahead of the Mets for the 3 spot in the stack rankings, and that's the Colorado Rockies. We'll talk about them in a second. But the White Sox, very playable. We've seen some friskiness from that offense. There are some bats we like up at the top of that lineup to get to, and they've got some mix and match parts to build a full lineup out at worst. They're going up against the gettable Seth Lugo, so no problems there. As mentioned, 9-run total. The Royals, the class of the day, pulling most of that at 5.19 on their side. Going up against Anthony K, who hasn't gotten through the 5th yet. 2 earned runs in each of his first 2 starts, 4 2/3, 4 1/3. No strikeout in his second game against Toronto. 5 strikeouts, but 4 walks in his first performance of the year against the Brewers. Not a high-end pitcher. And then, as mentioned before, Jimmy Herget opening up for Chase Dollander. We'll see Herget for an inning, and then he'll hand off to the kid. Dollander talented kid. Colorado pitching prospects tend to go nowhere. He's shown flashes. His first 2 starts, the first one struck out 5 but gave up 3 home runs, which kind of hurts. 4 earned runs on the 3 home runs, 5 hits overall. Only lasted 4 innings. That was at Toronto. Second start in Coors for Philly. I believe you worked behind an opener for both of these. Yeah, you did. Went 4 1/3 against the Phillies. Struck out 6, walked 1. Just 1 earned run on 4 hits, pitching at Coors against that really good Phillies lineup. So the kid's got some talent, facing a middle-of-the-road kind of a Padres team. Wouldn't stun me if he kind of replicated that. It's more difficult to get access to win. You don't get the quality start bonus if you're playing on FanDuel, so on and so forth. So just don't love chasing those opener-follower situations. I don't think you throw anything at Jimmy Hurt for an inning, even at 4,000. It's just not enough meat on the bone there to work. And then Randy Vasquez, 2 decent starts in his first 2, went 6 in both of them. Gave up an earned run against Boston at Fenway, only struck out 3 in that one. Struck out a surprising 8 Tigers in his first one. Tigers have just been up there flailing to start the season. 2-hit shutout over 6 innings was very good. Walked 3 in that one. But he's not that guy. And he allows a ton of contact. The Rockies make just enough premium contact that I think they're interesting. They're pulling just a 3.20 implied total. This is not really supported by Vegas, but they're showing some frisky numbers in the model overall. So I don't think that they're at least uninteresting as a just cheapo alternative to just eating up the White Sox and then playing them along in conjunction with the high teams. You can get 2 better bats from the premium teams by playing the Rockies. So at least they're on the board for me. The home run pick of the day comes from the Colorado Rockies. We'll talk about it. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen there, by the way, if you haven't ever checked out Rotoscouts, or even if you have but you're not currently subscribed, pick up a free week. Or not a free week, sorry. Rewind that 2 seconds. Pick up a week. Check things out. Get behind the scenes for just $2 from now through next Friday. This promo code is good. I'll do this again later on. It'll be better, I promise. This promo code's good for today only. It's a short slate special. $2 for a week on your first week on a weekly plan. That'll renew next Thursday if you don't cancel it at regular price. Regular price is listed there at $6.93 for a week. That is under $1 a day. Gets you access to all the baseball content projections. Gets you access to all of the projections for hockey and basketball still ongoing through the playoffs. So a lot of bang for your buck there. But for the first week, $2 with promo code TURN2. That's the word turn and the number 2 as you see it right there. So check that out if you've been looking to get behind the scenes over at Rotoscouts and see what the stuff's all about. 3 days are going well out there. Let's pull up the pitching board real quick. Nolan McLean, no surprise, top of your board. Kind of the class of the day, but Erod, maybe surprising to some, not far behind. There are no tweaks here. The model doesn't even actually know, outside of maybe in certain places in like the grand, just adding to career-long numbers for Erod in one tab. The model doesn't really know. Like, there's no bias here because he's been good for 2 starts. This is just Erod picking up a reasonable projection. I believe he's at 6 innings. I might have left him at 5 2/3 or 5 1/3, but in that neighborhood. It's not a crazy projection. If you just saw that on a full slate and there were 6 more pitchers listed up here from 35 to 30, you'd be like, okay, that's a reasonable spot for Erod against the Mets. It just stands out because he's number 2 on the board on a short slate today. There's really not that many other options. But as mentioned, he's been working with a new pitch mix. They were talking about it on Central. It might not last. It's been 2 starts, but it's also what he was doing in the WBC, where he's pulled back on his fastball usage. He just used to pound the fastball like crazy, and he doesn't have a great fastball, especially not now in terms of velo. He's a lower-end velo guy. But he's always had a good changeup. He's using the changeup a little bit more, and he's using the cutter a little bit more, and it's really worked out for him over 2, and it's been interesting. Maybe it doesn't hold going up against a good Mets lineup here that is missing Juan Soto, but still has plenty of weapons. Yeah, certainly skeptical about it, but I think Erod is entirely playable here. 7 innings against Atlanta in his second start, 4 hits, struck out just 3, walked just 1. We're probably not looking at a heavy strikeout total, but capable innings and the ability to go 6, maybe 7. The first start was against the Dodgers, so we're talking about 2 high pedigree teams. 5 innings against the Dodgers in his return from the WBC. 5 strikeouts, 2 walks, gave up 1 unearned run on 4 hits, faced 20 hitters, and again was tremendous in that WBC final against the U.S. team. So a lot of upside for Erod at a very fair price, if nothing else. 75 on FanDuel, 78 on DraftKings, cheaper on both sites by a pretty wide margin than Seth Lugo. Cheaper than Randy Vasquez on the FanDuel slate is kind of silly to me. Yeah, Randy Vasquez, a righty facing the Rockies on the road in his home park, which is a pitcher-friendly park. I get it, and he's been good over 2 as well. But if people are taking Vasquez, who is a career 13, 15% strikeout pitcher, we'll look at his last couple of years. If they're going to him with the Rockies showing a little bit of upside, I'll lean toward Erod even against a better Mets lineup if he's drawn that better projection, which he is. So I don't want to say I like that spot, because Erod has hurt us in the past. Currently paying Erod $6 to not be on my roster in the Dynasty League against our $430 cap, which definitely hurts this year. $6 fantasy dollars. I was actually thinking about picking him back up maybe going into this week, because then I would have him. I think he's $1 this year, so I think I would just have him for $7. I mean, I know I would. I would just have him for $7, which if he pitches this well, be interesting. Lugo against the White Sox does have upside. I'm just not a big Seth Lugo guy, and he comes through the model fine, but not special. Second start was pretty good. He struck out 7 Brewers. We walked 2 earned runs on 4 hits over 5 innings. It's not bad. First start, shut out the Braves over 6 1/3. Gave up 5 hits, only struck out 3, but didn't walk anybody. Interesting enough outings. We've seen Lugo hit decent strides in the past. He could go 6, 7 innings against this team, pitch pretty clean, a run or 2, come away with a handful of strikeouts, and be plenty fine for DFS. I just think people are going to have him for facing that White Sox lineup. There's enough danger there with Murakami, Colson Montgomery, Chase Meadroth, and his low strikeout, his hit tool, so on and so forth, that they collide well enough with Lugo and his downside that I can maybe work around him, especially if we like Erod better than him and other places have it the other way around. So I'll take that spot. And then we get to Vasquez again against the Rockies. Righties against the Rockies on the road, always a thing. The 2 6-inning starts pretty good. Dollander splitting time with K and splitting time with Herget, and K was who I skipped over there. 4 1/3 last time out, no strikeout, 2 walk against Toronto. I mentioned this in the runs tab. 4 2/3 against Milwaukee, 5 strikeouts, 4 walks, 2 earned runs. Just not an upside spot. And going up against the top lineup of the day, the only team pulling a 5+. So feels like a pretty strong stay away from Anthony K, even if he lands slightly ahead of Chase Dollander. Remember, this is just a low 4. I think I gave him 4. And then Jimmy Herget, who's only here for an inning. So it's not like Anthony K is actually standing out in any way. Sub 20 total there, sub 10 projected on DraftKings. We do have lineups for the first 2 games. Late game's not in yet. 7:10, 7:40, and then we wait for 2 hours for the 9:40 on that late one. So another, if you like late night hammers, not that we're really looking for swappability or anything like that in MLB so much as in basketball or anything. But if you like late night hammers, another good reason to go to those Rockies a little bit. Beyond the Rabbit Hole points out no Corbin Carroll. Yeah, definitely a downgrade. Like I mentioned, this Diamondbacks team, when I saw the total and it popped as a 6-point average for this lineup. But yeah, Ildemaro Vargas in the 2 spot, Adrian Del Castillo cleaning up, Jose Fernandez. It is a low-end version of this Diamondbacks team. A lot of fun names for me to say, though. There are some guys like Ildemaro Vargas, not an untalented player. He's got a little bit of a hit tool to work with. He's been low strikeout over the years, so capable enough guy. But it just, as a total and as a fantasy spot, it really diminishes the D-backs here, and it pushes Nolan McLean up a little bit. So there's support for McLean's upside. He's 10-5 FanDuel. He's 88 on DK. So obviously DK thinking a little bit less. FanDuel seems to have rushed to judgment on some guys, but big believer in McLean and the talent. 29.3% strikeout over his first 2 this year. 10.1%. 10 1/3 innings. Last season, 48 innings and a cup of coffee, 8 starts, struck out 30% in his just first action in the show. was very good in the WBC as well. He was the pitcher in the final for the Mets, so this is for the U.S. So this is a rematch of that WBC final. You can believe that McLean's going to be fired up and does not have a lineup as good. That Diamondbacks lineup is worse than that Venezuela lineup was. Talked about Erod a little bit and the new pitch mix. Again, it's resulted in 2 very good starts. We have to see where this goes, and it's not like he's blowing hitters away. 17.4% strikeout rate. They had Al Leiter on when they were talking about it on Central earlier, and Leiter was talking about, as you hit a certain point as a pitcher and you realize maybe you can't overwhelm hitters with your fastball, and Erod is certainly that kind of a pitcher. You just settle into different. Relying on guile, and the term crafty lefty didn't come up, but it could certainly end up applying to Erod over time. And as they were watching the highlights, Leiter said, something that really jumps out to me is that he's not trying to max out effort on the fastball like he used to when he does throw the fastball, and even in the changed usage. And just for all of his pitches, his delivery just looks smooth and repeatable. And he said, he's just in the rocking chair. He's just back and forth, and low effort, nice, efficient, tight delivery, which has not necessarily always been Erod's thing. So it's just interesting. But I don't expect him to flash massive strikeout upside. Every now and then he might peel one off because at times he's been a decent strikeout pitcher over time. This Mets lineup, though, not a great target for that, especially up top with Lindor. Bo Bichette has been very low strikeout throughout his career, right now sitting at 24.6% in the small sample this year, but last year you can see 14.5, 19 the 2 seasons before. That's who Bo Bichette is. Lubob has been all over the map. Low strikeout right now, but upper strikeouts in those years. So one to watch. If he makes this improvement and it's consistent, obviously I don't think those walks are going to hold at 20%. But if he can cut strikeouts down even to 25, 22, 25, that's going to help his hopeful resurgence here. Vientos, right around league average right now, but there were more strikeouts there. But you get that back on Semien. He's underperforming in terms of the strikeouts. That might hold. I just see Semien generally trending downward as the year goes on. And then you pick up some strikeout upside for a couple hitters on the back end. But even those guys, Tyrone Taylor, not terrible around league average the last couple of years. Luis Torrens beats league average the last couple of years for strikeout. So not a premium spot for Erod to go out and find 8 or 9 strikeouts. But 6-7 innings of decent baseball, definitely in the cards. And 7,500 is a good price. 7,800 is a good price. Makes things work. The lineup I was tinkering with, and then I realized I was a minute or two over overtime for the show. I just wanted to see what you could do putting those 2 guys together. And then the Rockies and Royals just kind of came naturally. And this had 1,600 to play with. I didn't get a chance to sit there and see what I could change out. I'd probably swap out McLean Thomas for somebody better. Now I get a $3,900 player in that spot, and then maybe as a one-off. But I just thought that all clicked together real quick when I said, let me just see what I can do there. I actually initially started it with Chase Dollander there in the Erod spot. And as I was building it, I realized, I'm going to have a ton of money left over. Let me switch it to Erod and see what I can get. And it's still built out with all of the premium Royals plus the Rockies that I pretty much want to get to. So I thought it came together kind of interesting, just taking the approach on a short slate of let me try and throw a blanket over the win in the game where I think the 2 best pitchers are pitching and in a game where I think the 2 guys that are most likely one of them going to come away with a win today. Just seems like a reasonable approach, and especially when you get to whatever you want with that approach. Ketel Marte, one of the 2 premium players in the Diamondbacks lineup today. 4,900, 3,100 feels like pretty good pricing. I think both sites may be overreacting a little bit to a slow start. 208, 269, 313. We know he's quite a bit better than a 67 WRC plus. Last year was 145. Year before was 151. Year before that was 127. 25 home runs back in 2023, up to 36 in 2024. Came down a little bit to 28 last year, but he was still tremendous. 381 WOBA, 390 xWOBA. Just a generally fantastic option at second base. That's a tremendous one-off even against Nolan McLean. If you just want to grab the Diamondbacks, will be under-owned for how much people are going to use Nolan McLean here. So getting him, getting Geraldo Perdomo 2 spots later, and maybe you click in a third guy and just take the angle on it, I think is a reasonable approach. Everybody's cheap on both sites. Geraldo Perdomo's 46, 3,000 on FanDuel playable, and then all the other guys, maybe replacement level talents, but you also get replacement level prices. As mentioned, Ildemaro Vargas, not completely uninteresting, just for where he's hitting between those 2. Last season, 121 plate appearances. Like I said, a little bit of a hit tool. 270, only 292 on the on base, 383, a 113 ISO, nothing special. Bad in the WOBA and ex-WOBA department, just an 85 WRC plus. Again, we're not looking for this guy in terms of picking him up and using him for a full season. Full season numbers, 72 WRC plus, 81 WRC plus. He had 252 over 286 opportunities there. This year, 303 opportunities, didn't really come through, 246. But if we're just playing him for today's game at a cheap price for DFS purposes, which is the purpose of this, yeah, well said, then he's definitely in play. That hit tool can come through. 2 base hits is really all I need on a short slate like this. Hopefully the opportunity to create a run one way or another. It's really all I'm looking for. So it puts Vargas at least in play. And if this team gets to Nolan McLean, he's one of the more likely candidates to be a part of it in addition to the 2 obvious guys. Perdomo off to a bad start as well. He does have a pair of stolen bases, a home run on the board, and 48 plate appearances. We know he's a lot better than that. Ivan Del Castillo's cheap at 2,700 where you need catchers, cheaper where you don't need the position. 2 full-time catchers in the lineup here, but no full-time first baseman as far as the DFS positioning. You can click all the first base eligible guys in other spots. So FanDuel-wise, you could double those guys up with no real sacrifice. DraftKings, obviously, you're making a decision between Del Castillo, who comes in hitting cleanup with a 4.53 in the home run model, is sit second on this team behind Marte. So far this year, 8 plate appearances that have gone nowhere. Last year, 4 homers in 131. Drove the ball a little bit. 4 homers in 87 opportunities the year before that. Not a lot of meat on the bone on that one. Jose Fernandez has gotten a few interesting batted ball events. He's hit 2 home runs in 20 plate appearances. Coming down with a 150 WRC plus right now. A lot of buzz in the fantasy communities about him as a pickup and potentially being interesting. I missed him. I overlooked him because I was looking at his name and I was thinking middle infield eligibility. But yeah, first base for him. Sorry. So 2,700 at first base on the DraftKings slate. 3 positions on FanDuel, shortstop, third base, and first base for 2,800. It's a good price. If he connects, he's 13.3% barrel, 46.7% hard hit rate. Barrel rate leads the team third in hard hits on this team. And interesting rates. It's just a matter of whether he sustains it. But again, we're only looking at tonight. We're not talking about the long term here. So on a short slate, 27, I prefer the multi-position eligibility so that I can get to a better upside bat at one of the corners and just play him at maybe shortstop. If I'm not going to one of the premium like Lindor or Bobby Witt in that lineup, I think he's a good alternative that way. But he clicks in at any of those positions. McCann's kind of interesting, 3.38 in the home run model. Former upside is a power bat. He's got a 12.5% barrel rate in what's probably like 3 batted ball events over 13 plate appearances. -7 WRC plus so far, though. Alec Thomas, Tim Tawa, Jorge Barossa down the bottom of the lineup. Mostly mix and match quality. Barossa, the only guy above the Mendoza line, just barely, 211, but only a 250 on base. 84 WRC plus leads that group so far in these tiny meaningless samples. Do I not sound good? I have just the mic I always use. Did my mic? Let's change which mic it's using. Hold on. There it is. How's that? A little bit better? This had switched to, I think, the camera microphone in the background for no good reason. Does this sound better? This is like I showed. This is the microphone I use. It's the one I've always used. Weird. Don't know why that would have switched. Thanks for pointing that out, Queen. Or Queef. Queef McGee's house. Appreciate you, bud. Sorry for 20 minutes of bad audio, guys. Somebody should have told me sooner. All right. Where the hell were we? Yeah, so Tim Tawa,
but also down the bottom of the lineup, just looking across those guys, nobody did anything last year. Thomas had the largest sample of 469 plate appearances, technically the most productive with the 81 WRC plus, but that's significantly below average. You do have a minor amount of pop, a little bit of ability to run across those two players, but if you're using these guys, it had better just be in take one of those guys and just to cheapen up a lineup and get to Nolan McLean, for example. Even if you're taking a hitter against him on a 3-game slate, I think that works. He just popped because he's the most expensive pitcher, but access a better bat by using one of those guys in another spot is kind of the point. On the Mets side, 4.03 implied total, not a heavy total for the quality of bats in this lineup. Again, no Juan Soto, but pretty much standard lineup otherwise for them. Lindor off the top, fair price, 51.35, off to a slow start. I mentioned, not liking his power upside for the year given the hamate bone injury, the same thing that Corbin Carroll was suffering from. Carroll came back quite a bit hotter. They both suffered it right around the same time, got back right around the same time. Lindor got out of the gate kind of slowly, but I'm a big believer in Frankie Lindor's talent in terms of doubles, triples. We've seen him triple a couple times early in the season, balls that might have gotten out in previous seasons. Stolen bases should be there. Just a question of where the power lands. But going up against Erod, definitely a little bit of upside for Frankie Lindor in that leadoff spot. Going to be a popular pick on this slate. The price is down a little bit compared to the talent level. Bo Bichette, another player price way down, 4,280, 57 plate appearances for the Mets so far, 46 WRC plus. Not exactly what they were looking for when they brought him in. Last season, he had a 134. 311, 357, 483 for the year, 361 WOBA, 353 xWOBA. That is a good bet. He's not a monster in terms of power, but he should settle in, still come away with 15 or so home runs, even though he's hit none so far. It's only 57 plate appearances. Mets fans are panicked. They're booing him. They'll probably boo him tonight, but I don't think we worry about it. If you're going Mets, definitely a good buy at those prices. Not a bad option. Lubob. Oh, let me pop his junior in there. Lubob's off to a good start. As mentioned, if he can keep those strikeouts down, that's going to be interesting all year long. But I just think the getting out of Chicago, as we've talked about throughout the season, as I'm sure everybody around the world is saying, it's off to a good start. 333, 478, 417, just better environment overall, succeeding again. I think the good start will fuel him carrying forward through the season. And you're talking about a absolute star level talent. He's just that good. I know it's been a minute. Last year, terrible over 431 plate appearances. Did still swipe 33 bases, hit 14 home runs. Year before, 14 and 35 in 425 chances. And his previous season is not coming up back there. So annoying. That old board, guess, doesn't have the junior on it. Back in the day, Fangraphs. But that season was 38 home runs, 20 stolen bases, 264, 315, 542 with a 129 WRC plus. The year we really saw the full talent unleashed, over 595 plate appearances. Just made 401 the season before that, hit 12 homers, stole 11 bags, still had a 111 WRC plus for the low-end White Sox team. But we can see the talent level. We know how good Lubob can be. And again, good start might fuel a great season. 5,000, the most expensive Mets bat on FanDuel, 100 short of Frankie Lindor on DraftKings. Fire away. They're easy enough to get to, especially with Mark Vientos, Semien, Francisco Alvarez, all coming in cheap down lineup. Some playable bats in Brett Beatty, Luis Torrens, and Tyrone Taylor all filling in as cheap options as well. It's just the upside if you're playing Erod. Difficult to stack Mets and play Erod at the same time, unfortunately. But it's a reasonable enough stack. As mentioned, though, not a ton of separation between them and the lower-end teams, given that 403 total when it comes out in the wash as far as the fantasy numbers. The Rockies were really, really close to them. And then you get the White Sox could have easily ranked up in that range as well. Kind of interesting spot. I got to see when my phone keeps beeping. What the hell's going on? Oh, they're responding to my, in addition to the Yankees getting shut out, they also let Ryan Weathers pitch into the 8th and throw over 100 pitches for the first time in his career, because why not mess with him? Guy who's never been able to stay healthy on a 50-degree day in April. Like, Mr. Quick Hook, Aaron Boone, can't figure out that that's a guy who actually needs the quick hook. It's astounding. He pitched really well. I mean, I get it, but not what I wanted to see days after trading him from a guy in our fantasy league who for some reason jinxes players. everybody my friend Justin Bove acquires gets hurt. As soon as he trades away a pitcher, the guy gets hurt. It's playing with fire right now. Don't love it. Looking down the lineup, though, as mentioned, Vientos, really cheap, 3,300, 2,900. Hitting out of the gate, great. Getting regular plate appearances in this lineup, which hopefully they stick with. 30 plate appearances, 3,7,400, 556, a 168 WRC plus. He's got that home run on the board. He was our home run pick that day. He's just a good hitter off to a good start. We want to see more barrels. We want to see more hard hits as the sample grows, but this is a player who double-digit barrels by a wide margin over the last couple of years, a 50.5% hard hit rate last year. Just leave Mark Vientos hitting in the middle of your lineup and let him cook. Marcus Semien, on the other hand, as mentioned before, I just see the downturn is staring at us at 209, 286, 326, over 49 plate appearances. Those don't mean anything, but the 233, 05, 364 from last year sure does. Did still have a just below league average 318 xWOBA under the 295 terrible actual number. So if you want something to cling to, maybe he gets back to around league average, maybe just based on pure plate appearances, because he does play every day. He does play good defense for this team still, and they brought him in hoping that he would find the bat again. But so far, not doing it. Striking out a little bit more than he used to as well at 22.4%. Again, tiny sample. It doesn't really mean anything, but there's no reason to believe in the return to form for Marcus Semien. He's just cheap. He just hits in the middle of the lineup, but any given slate, there is upside on a 3-gamer. Frankie Alvarez, on the other hand, I think is a guy to focus on. 3,500 is a fair price for him at catcher on DraftKings, where you have to play it. 3,000, happy to have him occupy that first base util position on first base catcher position rather on FanDuel, since the Mets, again, another team without really a go-to first base only option on the FanDuel slate. You can click Vientos into third, so you keep your util spot open that way. I like that a lot. Alvarez, 3 home runs on the board, 300, 400, 633, 191 WRC plus to get started. Probably doesn't hold at that level, but 12.1% barrel, 54.3% hard hit last season. Looking a lot like the guy from 2 years ago who had a bunch of home runs in a small sample. Last year, came away with 11 homers and just 277 plate appearances, but all those high-quality batted ball events. Kid can hit. He's very cheap. There is power upside, right-handed bat going up against Erod. You can see pulling a 9.25 to sit pretty in one of four guys, just under the magic number for home run upside for the Mets here. So definitely some sneaky Mets ability here, even if you're not full stacking them, given that 4.03 implied total and some of the prices. Maybe you 3-man stack the Mets. Maybe they're your secondary option, or a 2-man even, on depending on where you're playing and how you're setting up. Brett Beatty at 39.29 with multi-position on both sites. A reasonable hit tool. The strikeouts are problematic for a guy who doesn't necessarily, create a ton of runs, have a ton of power, but he's got a reasonable hit tool, put the ball in play. He fills, a bunch of positions for fairly cheap. It's not a bad option down lineup. Torrens, just low strikeout, 19% last season. Okay option. /226, 284, 345, unfortunately, in 283 opportunities. Just a 79 WRC plus. He's been a little better than that in short samples, but just a mix and match alternative to Frankie Alvarez, who will be completely unowned from the bottom of the lineup for cheap. And then Tyrone Taylor for 2,000 gets in lineups against left-handed pitching. Has a home run on the board in 13 plate appearances this year. It was pretty bad last year. 2 home runs, 12 stolen bases, a 70 WRC plus, basically occupying this role, plus a little bit against same-handed. Year before, a little bit better in terms of the slash line, 7 home runs, 10 steals, but just a 98 WRC plus that year. Hit 10 homers in 243 opportunities back in 2023. Just any given slate upside, but he is the dead min price on DraftKings, which does help make things work if you're stacking up some of the more expensive bats up top. But if you're going to this Mets team, let's say you want to grab the obvious, take all 3 of them. You just take all 3 of those guys plus Vientos and Alvarez, you're still only spending $4,180 per man across the 5-man. That's how cheap the Mets are here against Erod. And if Erod hasn't truly harnessed anything, then we're talking about going up against Erod. Let's not forget, 5.02 ERA, a 4.44 xFIP, 4.48 Sierra last year, 20.6% strikeout against an 8.6% walk, and we like the strikeout to probably come down somewhat from that guy. So potentially good opportunity here for the Mets at these prices on the DraftKings slate. FanDuel-wise, you can do similar things, 32.75. About the same, I would say, relative to the caps. Got to go McLean, Erod, Mets, D-backs, and the D-backs greatly diminished by just the lineup that they're rolling out here. Might be closer than people might expect across the first three things, though. White Sox and Royals. Pod's lineup came in for the next game. Perfect. Jake Cronenworth in the leadoff spot. I like that. Both of these lineups are in. So Anthony K, 6,800 on DraftKings, 7,000 on FanDuel. Doesn't project particularly well, but that cheap price is just a dart sitting there that you can throw if you want to go up against the highest total on the slate, the low strikeout, very good Royals. Doesn't feel like a spot for me. K, 12.5% strikeout over his one appearance, one start, 9 innings pitched. 4.0 ERA with a 5.20 xFIP underneath it. Didn't pitch the last couple of seasons. Going back in time. That's right. He was in NPB the last 2 years. Good season in NPB ball last year. 24 starts, 155 innings, 1.74 ERA with a tidy 2.53 xFIP underneath it. But that's essentially quad A kind of a league is probably fair to say. A little better than triple A, a little worse than Major League, or significantly worse than Major League. But the best representative professional league that we have. 24 starts the year before, 3.42 ERA, 2.90 xFIP. So 2 very good seasons over in NPB. Was not good in short stints prior to that, really, in the show. 5+ ERA, 5.44 ERA, 4.78 xFIP for the career. That's over 94 and a third innings, 8 starts, 46 appearances. Overall, 21.5% strikeout last year, 20.2% the year before in NPB. For his career in the show, those same innings I mentioned, though, 21.5% strikeout, 12.2% walk. We're not dealing with an upside pitcher, and this is not a good lineup to throw him into. Go back the other way, Seth Lugo, 83, 93 as mentioned in the rundown. Perfectly fine to play here. Going up against the White Sox team, pulling just under a 4 implied total, though, with some frisky bats. Munetaka Murakami pulling a 12 in the home run model. He's got 4 on the board in his first 48 plate appearances, getting on base a little bit, knows how to draw the walk, but otherwise he's going to be, as mentioned the other day, not actually comparing him to this guy, but he fits the archetype of a Kyle Schwarber. That's the kind of player he is, and a ton of experience. This is a very experienced guy, despite being just 26. He had 8 or 9 seasons in NPB, 8, I think. So it's not a great lineup necessarily, at least up top, to throw Seth Lugo, who is a middle-of-the-road type starter at best. 2 good ones, 1.59 ERA, but already a 3.40 Sierra kind of betrays that. Sub-1 whip, 22% strikeout against a 4% walk. Last year, just 20.5% strikeout over 26 starts, 145 innings, 9% walk rate, so just an 11.5% K-minus BB. 4.15 ERA with a higher xFIP, higher Sierra. Year before that was pretty decent. 21.7% strikeout, had a 3.83 xFIP under a 3.0 ERA in 33 starts, gave you a ton of depth that year, 206 2/3. If he comes back, if you're telling me I get that guy today, then sure, fire away against the White Sox. I have no real reason to believe that that's the guy outside of these 2 short appearances that we're getting here today. So very, very playable, fairly priced on DraftKings at the 83, fits in just fine. 93 on FanDuel. A little more than I'd want to spend on this slate on the mound, honestly. This is going to be one I think, take your shot at pitcher, and this is going to be one that you win with bats. If we're leaning into the White Sox and drawing against Seth Lugo, which I don't think is a crazy idea, but given the total and the difference in implied total between them and the Rockies, I think people do take this team and take that shot a little bit. You get the quality of Munetaka Murakami. You get Chase Meadroth. You get Colson Montgomery in that stack. So there are reasons to go to this team. They probably get a little bit of popularity. And again, I kind of like the Rockies better for cheaper prices and probably less ownership. Meadroth at 35.28, though. Good way to get things started. 340 on base, 118 WRC plus. Something to focus on there. Sub 20% strikeout to start out, a 12.8% walk rate. 40.6% hard hit is also up a little bit. He's barreled a few balls already this season. 3.1% barrel in a tiny sample. Still fewer than 50 plate appearances. Meaningless. But this is a kid who we expect to hit, 280, 300 kind of an average, put the ball in play, succeed by limiting strikeout, drawing a few walks and getting on base. If he can push the walks up, push the on base up. He's more interesting. He'll have the opportunity to steal bases. And if he's hitting the ball even just a little bit harder, that can make a difference between a guy who we expect to hit 1-2 home runs throughout the season, a Chandler Simpson who's probably going to hit no home runs throughout the season unless they're inside the park, to a guy who maybe hits us 8 to 10 home runs. He probably doesn't get to 12 or 15, but 8 to 10 home runs every now and again adds to the potential for DFS success. I like Chase Meadroth, and I like that spot in the lineup. Murakami, as mentioned, very experienced hitter, 16.7% barrel, 50% hard hit to start things out over his first 48 plate appearances. Those 4 home runs, 366 weighted on base with a 340 xWOBA in support underneath it, a little bit lower, 26 points lower, but a 138 WRC plus, been productive as hell to start things off, and I expect him to maintain quality. We'll probably see an uptick in batting average, but even if he hits 215 for the year, I'll give him 10 extra points on what he's at now. Even if he's that low end in terms of batting average, the power is going to be there. The DFS success is definitely going to be there, and the on base probably will be as well. So he's going to create runs. Miguel Vargas at 37, fine. At 3,600 on FanDuel, that feels a little pricey. One of the more expensive players on the entire slate. You get him in 3 positions, I guess. 1 home run, 3 stolen bases, 225, 347, 425, a 126 WRC plus. Fine. I think we're all getting some of us are getting too excited about Miguel Vargas. Last year, 569, very average plate appearances, a 101 WRC plus, 1 point above average. Hit 16 home runs, stole 6 bases, got on a 316 clip, 319 xWOBA under the 314 WOBA, so both slightly below average. I don't think there's anything special here. So this feels really rough. That's fine. Third base only, I don't love, but again, short slate. There's not a ton of good options anyway, so totally fine. I'd much rather have Michael Garcia if I'm just picking any random third baseman on the other side, though. That would relegate Colson Montgomery to shortstop if you're playing Miguel Vargas at third base as well. If I'm 3-manning this, it's definitely Meadroth, Murakami, and Montgomery probably at third, so I can get one of the other really good shortstops in the lineup. I like Montgomery's upside. He has 2 home runs on the board. Just a 252 xWOBA is kind of a concern if this was a larger sample. Fortunately, it's only 48 plate appearances. Has still been above average for run creation to 313 on base. Drawn a 10.4% walk against all those strikeouts. This is probably going to hold around a 30% strikeout rate, kind of like around where he was last year. If he could gain that 1.5, 2 points of walk, though, that would be helpful. Kid showed major power upside from the left side of the plate last season. Quarter of a season, third of a season, 284 plate appearances, hit 21 home runs. But you can already see he's not going to hit for average. This is a power hitter. Andrew Benintendi, weird little breakout for power last year. I don't expect it necessarily to carry forward, though he does have a few good batted ball events, 5.9% barrel, 58.8% hard hit. Sub Mendoza, 219 on base and a 35 WRC plus to go with those good batted ball events, though. Also striking out at a shocking 43.8% clip so far. That won't hold. He's a better than average at limiting strikeouts, 17.4 last year, 18.4 the year before. Just not a hitter I really like. I think he's overrated in general, even though he's typically low priced and not really held in high regard. I think he's not as good as that. So mix and match piece at best, just another outfielder at the absolute ceiling. Dustin Harris for 25-21. Give me the cheaper guy. If I'm taking Benintendi, give me the kid who's a little bit cheaper. Why not? At worst, you're gonna get a below average outfielder either way. Edgar Quero, 2,200, cheap enough. The catcher on DraftKings. If you're stacking this team, absolutely you can use that. 46.3% hard hit last season in a sample of 403 plate appearances. He hit 5 home runs with that. Had a 307 WOBA, 290 xWOBA, pretty concerning. 95 WRC plus, slightly below average, but those numbers would suggest that he would be even worse than average if he can't met expectation. Kind of overperformed in a bad season last year. Luis Angel, cheap in the middle infield. You probably pop him into the outfield, though, on DraftKings. Again, I'd rather have a better shortstop from this slate if I'm stacking up White Sox already here. So give me him in the outfield if you're going to use him at all. You're probably just looking for a little bit of hit tool, a little bit of stolen base upside, maybe helps create a run. In that sense, I'd probably rather have him hitting 9th, let Tristan Peters slide up into the 8th spot. Either way, though, you'd still use him as a wraparound from 8. It's just a little more disconnected. Peters, 267, 333, 300 over 33 plate appearances, has a stolen base on the board already. You can maybe use him in the wraparound sense as well. A lot of strikeout already, though, 9.1% walk. What you get from Luis Angel, no real strikeouts, but also no walks. So, again, just a lot of balls in play. Needs to succeed via the BABIP, where maybe Peters draws you that walk to get on base and reset the table for the guys you actually want up top. The much better of these two teams, Michael Garcia in the leadoff role for the Royals. Hopefully just sticks there all season long, getting on currently at a 377 clip, tremendous 374 WOBA over the 403 expected mark. Fantastic. What a breakout he had last year for us after we talked about him basically opening day and sang his praises throughout the entire season. That is just one of our guys, full stop. 347 WOBA last year, 334 expected mark underneath it. So, I mean, we've seen tremendous growth in the meaningless sample so far this year. I like him to overperform last year's numbers and beat that expected WOBA pretty significantly, and probably beat the actual WOBA from last year with support from a better expected. 121 WRC plus last season, hit 16 homers, stole 23 bags, just makes very good contact, doesn't strike out, draws a fair amount of walks. Very, very good way to get things started. And I love the multi-position where I can get him at second base still on FanDuel 3,300. Bobby Witt at short 6,000, 3,500. That is one of the better shortstops that I've been referring to. 60% hard hit out of the gate. Hasn't seen much for it, but does have 7 stolen bases against his 365 on base percentage so far. That's at least supporting some fantasy upside. The 409 xWOBA under the 298 WOBA tells us the truth of Bobby Witt. He is just one of the best players in the game, full stop. So absolutely want to try and prioritize him as much as possible. He was in that little slap together lineup that I showed before, I believe, wasn't he? Yep. So easy to reach, even at the high price on DraftKings. Same deal, 3,500 is honestly probably 500 too cheap for him against Anthony K on FanDuel. Vinny Pasquantino, no concerns lefty in general, and certainly none here. He's just cheap, 2,800 on FanDuel, totally works. 44 on DraftKings is a little bit inexpensive at least. That's a $5,000 player in my mind. Another cold start for Vinny, but we know that he's going to come roaring back. This is just too good a hitter. Last season, 32 home runs in a big breakout. 113 ribbies, not that we care about RBIs. Had a 340 WOBA, 334 xWOBA, 116 WRC plus last season. So the talent is very real. The batted ball events are coming. Just lacking for good batted ball events, figuring out that swing again. Basically the same thing that happened to him last year. Sal, a few good batted ball events, but that's it. 2 home runs on the board, a 15.4% barrel. Otherwise, avert your eyes. 156, 224, 333 for old man Sal so far. Just getting into the swing of things. He'll be fine in the long term. Caglianone, 3,500, 2,700. Makes a match quality option right now. Just another outfielder right now. I expect more from him. I think it's fair to continue that expectation for a kid that came up as one of the top prospects. Probably got promoted a little early for these 232 last year. 7 home runs, 157, 237, 295. We see when a guy gets up a little bit early, maybe gets a little bit gun shy about major league pitching, gets in his head a little, takes a moment to figure out. Hopefully that doesn't happen with Caglianone. He does have a 250, 325, 306 slash line so far. Just a 297 WOBA, 296 xWOBA, so right on target there. But at least a few quality batted ball events. He had a few last year as well. You just want to see it a little bit consistently from Caglianone, from a kid who's supposed to be very, very good and the next big thing for the Royals, kind of. Somebody sent a tweet breaking down their first-round picks over the last handful of years. Oof, rough. Jonathan India, Isaac Collins, Kyle Isbell down the bottom. Kyle Isbell on fire to start the season, 429, 467, 679. Maybe he's secretly been the very best player in baseball history over the entire course of his career, and we just never knew, and he's showing us now, but I'm skeptical about these 31 plate appearances. 133% better than average creating runs so far. Last year, much more pedestrian, much more expected, 255, 301, 353, 79 WRC plus. That's who Kyle Isbell really is. Year before, 8 homers, 11 steals, and 426 plate appearances, and 81 WRC plus. So hope you enjoyed it while it lasted. You do not want to pay $3,600 for Kyle Isbell on FanDuel, particularly hitting 9th. That's just a stupid spot. Maybe he comes through. Even if he comes through today, if you play that, it's a bad play. All right, let's understand that. You can use it, especially in stacks. He's getting on at nearly a 500 clip. So as a wraparound, maybe it's interesting from that. What did he get on base last year? 301. Year before, 287. Year before that, 282. It's so dumb. FanDuel is just reactionary with some of these prices. 36 is silly. DraftKings got it right at 31. You can use that. Collins, a few good batted ball events for him. 16.7% barrel rate so far. 1 home run. Sub Mendoza, 316, 313, and a 90 WRC plus. Ouch. Everybody knows what Sub Mendoza means, right? Under a 200 batting average. You got three guys under it. 1 guy right at it so far for the Royals. There's your problem. But a 5.19 implied total against Anthony K ought to cure that in a hurry tonight. That is your go-to stack. That is your number one ranked stack. That is not where your home run pick of the day comes from. This goes Royals, White Sox, Lugo, K. I like the White Sox, I think, a little bit better than Seth Lugo on a slate where Seth Lugo is probably going to be pretty popular. Did the Rockies land yet? They did not. Last lineup coming in is the Rockies. Minnie Mendoza, I believe. Larry C. is the guy's name. Minnie, it is Minnie, but it's IE. Minnie Mendoza. Oh, he's Cuban. I didn't know that. The Mendoza line, Mendoza is featured in the controversy surrounding the naming of the Mendoza line, meaning a 200 batting average. While most believe that the Mendoza line, first referred to by George Brett, is named after a 9-year veteran, Mario Mendoza, who had a 215 career batting average and hit 198 in his biggest season, there is some controversy as to whether Brett was actually referring to Minnie Mendoza when he coined the famous phrase. However, Minnie did not play during the time of George Brett. I always thought it was Minnie Mendoza. So maybe it's Mario Mendoza? Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I guess it is Mario Mendoza. Huh. I thought it was Minnie. There you go. You learn something every day. At least the confusion and controversy is mentioned. I'll give myself partial credit in Minnie Mendoza's. You heard it on a podcast in the last week. How about that? It's amazing how things come up like that, where it's just like one. Yesterday in the morning, my buddy Dan was texting about how the name trapezoid for the geometric shape is cooler than the actual shape and how it's unfair. And then that was bookended at the end of the night. I crashed Eric Lindquist's golf show last night over on Stochastic just for the fun of it. And he mentioned the trapezoid, where you can see the way that the guy's driving the golf ball and approach to the greens and stuff for statistical measurements. Trapezoid on both ends of my day yesterday was kind of weird. Anyway, last one up. Rockies, as mentioned, just a 3.20 implied total. This very much might not work out based on what Vegas thinks of this spot. I think this lineup's a little bit better than that. I really do. We mentioned that we're going to be using this team throughout the season, and we've talked about them, kind of at length so far. Home run pick of the day comes from this team. They're facing Randy Vasquez, who, again, 2 good starts, 23.9% strikeout rate in those starts. He's missed some bats with a 15.5% swinging strike rate. Good CSW so far. 0.75 ERA under the 3.20 xFIP 3.23 Sierra. But if we scroll over, this is a pitcher who last year in 132 and 2/3, 26 starts, had a 13.7% strikeout against the 9.2% walk. The year before, in 98 innings over 20 starts, a 14.4 against the 6.7% walk, 4.90 xFIP under his 4.87 ERA that year. Last year had a 3.73 xFIP, but a 3.73 ERA, but a 5.54 xFIP, 5.46 Sierra. So dramatically overperformed the quality of how he was actually pitching. Just lucky to be as good as he was last year. So I do not think that this is the pitcher that Vegas is necessarily targeting the Rockies against. And the model's definitely agreeing. Pushing some decent enough projections. They were just short as a collection of where the Mets were earlier in the day. And they're pulling 2 guys above the magic number in the home run model. A couple of the guys with a respectable power upside. So some cheap bats. Give me some Colorado Rockies upside at the end of the night against Randy Vasquez here. Let other people take the White Sox. That could certainly work out as well. But in terms of the cheapo stacks, I kind of like the Rockies. And then the Padres are just kind of obvious going up against the combination of Jimmy Herget and Chase Dollander. Again, Dollander does have talent over his 8 1/3 in two bulk relief appearances like this so far. 29.7% strikeout rate. Was rushed to the show a little bit for 21 starts, 98 innings last year. 18.6% strikeout, 11.1% walk. Had a 6.52 ERA, a 4.97 xFIP. Obviously, when you're playing Dollander, you're probably usually looking to do it on the road. But that good start good appearance against the Phillies the other day did come at Coors Field. So the kid's a talented kid. He was a former first-round pick. We just don't love, especially on FanDuel, the bulk relief role. I think it's more playable for that reason on DraftKings. He was the 9th overall pick in 2023 out of Tennessee. You can see this is last year's numbers. 2 above average pitches in terms of stuff plus. The full arsenal graded out because of those two pitches and mostly that cutter, graded out slightly above average. Has a lot of growth to do, though. That was in a bad season, and again, he was rushed to the show in a depleted an organization just bereft of pitching talent. Against a Padres lineup that is relatively low strikeout through the key hitters, has a little bit to pick up on the back end around, the Nicky Castellanoses of the world, but overall, not a lineup I really want to target with an unproven young pitcher when he's not even getting the start at 72 on FanDuel. You can maybe throw that discount dart on DraftKings because the quality start isn't in play, and the win, you take or leave the win on a 3-game slate like this. So maybe you get some sneaky performance there, and he picks up just 4 quality innings for you against the Padres. A 5th would be gravy. I think you get 4 most likely. And you don't play Jimmy Herget, not even at 4,000. Just not enough upside with the 4 points. Vasquez at 73, 89. Rough spot on FanDuel. I mean, especially because I want to use the Rockies against him. But I just don't think he's got really enough juice, even though the Rockies do strike out. And right now they're at a 25% rate in small samples. And I believe this collection of hitters was above that last year. The average isn't showing up because one dead spot. But again, Vasquez is just not that guy. 23.5. So basically matching what his strikeout rate is right now. But the massive 10-point uptick really from who he actually is. So for the price, let me take Erod. Let me take those other shots that we talked about. I don't love Vasquez here. On DraftKings at 73, just puts him right in playable range. That's easy to use, and you just know that you're not taking a Rocky stack against it. You're drawing probably White Sox in that one, which is the probably most common setup available. So, right, it's got to be McLean. I would think Vasquez, White Sox, and who is it? Just White Sox Royals game stack? That would be the most popular setup, possibly. You're going to want those Royals. That's the only 5+ total. And again, the Mets at a low 4, just right around 4-run total. So I think that's going to be just your straight line most popular DraftKings build. So let me pivot around that. I would want to go in a different direction, even though the Rockies are an easy target for right-handed pitching when they're on the road. Edward Julian holding down this leadoff spot pretty well over the last few days. Good game yesterday, 261, 320, 304, 69 WRC plus over 25 plate appearances overall. But we've talked about Julian a couple times already this season. In the past, this guy has drawn double-digit walk rates each of the last 3 years, even in up and down performances and up and down availability. He's a guy who has barreled the ball pretty consistently throughout his career. He's found that early in the season so far this year. That's an interesting guy, especially when they're at Coors. But anytime, if he's just leading off ahead of their interesting power bats, and he's real cheap right now at 2,600, 2,200, where you could slot him in at second base, that totally works. He was in that lineup I built. All right, those were my first 3 clicks were just the little 3-man with Goodman, Edward Julian, and Mickey Moniak. And then you get the 2 pitchers we've talked about, and you get to those Royals. Tyler Freeman projected in the 2 spot. Not a bad option. 36-26, only 10 plate appearances, just making his way back. He's already stolen 2 bases, though, created a few runs at 131 WRC plus. Last year, over 428, he had a lot of usability for DFS and for season long. Stole 18 bases, got on at a 354 clip over those 428 opportunities, was a substandard run creator at 91 WRC plus, but there's enough quality there depending on what you're looking for when we're just talking about a guy who could get on base ahead of the power bats, a guy who might swipe a bag, create a couple bonus points that other people don't necessarily have in their stats. For a day like today, that's absolutely useful. And if he's hitting second with multi-position, there's good usability there. You'd want him in the outfield with Julian at second base because you want to keep first base free for a bigger bat, whether it's from this lineup or another one. Hunter Goodman at 43-26, differently priced across sites because you need the catcher spot on DraftKings. He's got outfield eligibility too on the FanDuel slate, which is great. You can move him around the board a little bit that way. No problem playing him at the catcher first base spot though on FanDuel. Pair of home runs on the board, led this team in home run output last season. 11.35 leads the team in the home run model today. He is not your home run pick of the day, but I love the upside for one. Mickey Moniak, on the other hand, 10.19 in the home run model. your home run pick of the day. I wanted to use him the other day when he hit 2 in Coors Field, but we don't take hitters from Coors Field for the home run picks. So come on down, Mr. Moniak. Some good batted ball events. 11.1% barrel. Needs to push the hard hit rate, but he should. Last year it was 13.8 against a 45.3. So he's got a little bit of work to do to improve those over the full course of the season. But low strikeouts so far this season. 23.9 was down from 27.3 already, which was down from 35% year over the last 3. So an interesting step forward if he's able to maintain anything like those gains would work wonders for him in terms of the consistency. Probably the average, the on base would generously go up, and the 159 WRC plus probably doesn't hold at that level. You can see the difference in the 330 actual, but under 100 points lower than the 430 actual so far. So some overperformance, sure. But this is a guy who fully broke out over the last couple of years. 24 homers, 270, 306, 518 last season in 461 plate appearances. It's 25 home run upside. So home run pick of the day, Mickey Moniak. TJ Rumfield, 3,000, 3,100. Totally fair at first base. That's probably where I want to go to for first base if I'm taking the 5-man out of this lineup, which is why you would want Goodman maybe in the outfield on FanDuel. Put him at first, and then you maybe can keep your flex spot open depending on how else you configure that lineup. Pair of home runs on the board already for Rumfield. Some very interesting batted ball events, 9.7% barrel. Low strikeout, high walk rate so far, getting on at a 432 clip. Nothing not to like about the start. We'll see what it turns into, but right now, if we're grabbing bats from this team, he's a high priority one. Priced up at 31 on FanDuel, cheap at 3,000 on DraftKings. Ezekiel Tovar, 3,800, 2,700, entirely reasonable on both sides. Decent start for him. Well, mixed start for him, I guess I should say. Few runs, few ribbies on the board, some good fantasy scoring events. But a 277 on base against that 261 average, not good. A 308 WOBA, 329 X WOBA, 79 WRC plus. What we want to see from Tovar is bring the strikeouts back down. 25% last year was nice gains. He's back up at this level in this tiny unfair sample of 47 plate appearances. Needs to lower the strikeout, lower the whiff against basically all pitches. Just too much swing and miss when he's not going right. But when he's connecting, this is a player who can drive the ball. This is a player who can hit you some home runs. This is a fairly affordable shortstop. Last year was just lost 9 home runs, 294 on base, a 78 WRC plus. But in 695 chances the year before, dude hit 26 home runs, had a 200 ISO, still only a 95 WRC plus because of the 295 on base. He's just not consistent at getting to first base. But when he's going up and over the wall, that can definitely pay the bills fantasy-wise. Troy Johnston, yet another outfield first base option on this team, 3,400, 2,900. He's also off to a good start. Pair of home runs, 342, 375, 579, 154 WRC plus. Again, it's not going to hold. We've seen a little bit of Troy Johnston, 121 plate appearances last year. He was decent, though. 277, 331, 420. Created runs 9% better than average in that sample. So, I mean, now you're talking about a still small, but more fair 162 plate appearances there. So that's a growing sample of a lot of quality for the player. Going back the year before that, we don't have numbers from the year before that. Excuse me, it's just those two. So playability at 34, at 29, he's very, very cheap. If you're going to this team, he's not my top priority guy if he's sitting down there. If he happens to move up in the lineup, then sure, that makes him a higher priority bat. But super playable from down there. In more than one, if I'm building 2 Rocky stacks, he's in one of them. Willie Castro at 32.29. Gotten himself together. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. 253.18, 400 after a slow 8 days of baseball. We're 2 weeks into the season. Brenton Doyle at 33.24, former 2020 type talent. Tremendous defense keeps him in the lineup most days. 6.47 in the home run model with a long memory of some great premium contact over the last couple of seasons. Any given slate, definitely upside for Brenton Doyle going up against a mediocre righty who should let him make contact, which is typically his biggest problem. Again, if he's not missing bats, these Rockies do have upside. So Brenton Doyle works from that perspective. Not an ideal candidate for wraparound shares, though. He's not consistent enough for the on base. Somebody who is consistent at getting on base is Jake Cronenworth. Not so far this year over 46 plate appearances, but last season, 367 on base over 515 opportunities. He should just sit in that leadoff spot for this team most of the season. Have him hit there, Fernando Tatis in the 2 spot, play Luis Arias when he's in the lineup, wherever. This is how this lineup should probably be configured. 55-32 for Tatis. Reasonably priced on DraftKings. Is not an unfair price. It's a cheap price at 32 on FanDuel. Off to a slow start, but who cares? 53 pretty empty plate appearances, a 64 WRC plus. Last season, 25 homers, 32 stolen bases, a 131. The year before, 21 homers, 11 stolen bases in a partial season, a 135 WRC plus, and on and on and on. He's just one of the best players in baseball. So you definitely want some Tatis if you're going to the pods, and I don't think it's unreasonable. definitely a spot where we can see success. We'll probably see quite a few Padres and Royals stacks in some combination, whatever fits together from those teams. There's plenty of upside in going there. Jackson Merrill at 45 underpriced, 31 underpriced. Pair of home runs, 2 stolen bases on the board. Off to an otherwise slow start, but definitely a star caliber talent if he's going right. We saw a mixed season last year in the return from injury. Should show us plenty of upside going forward. Manny at 48 at 31, another player. It's kind of underpriced. You can see all three of those guys a couple of points above the magic number going up against this combination of Dollander and Herget. What you do worry about a little bit with the opener is the idea of just taking the top off of the lineup the first time through. And we can swap Jimmy Herget in there if you want to see it. Nothing overly impressive in the stuff from last year. 6 innings so far this year, does have 27% strikeout, yet to walk anybody. Just a 1.50 ERA against a 2.88 xFIP. Last season in 83 and a third of relief work, 23.3% strikeout, induced an 11.5% swinging strike rate, 2.48 ERA, but a very non-special 4.29 xFIP, a 3.69 Sierra, kind of caught in the middle. Wasn't bad as far as giving up power, but did give up a lot of fly ball. Not unreasonable exit velocity and hard hit run numbers, but nothing special there. It's not like he's a extreme limiter of those. So I think give me any one fly ball from any of Tatis, Merrill, Machado. It could be over the wall easily, even against Herget in the first inning. So nothing really to be concerned about there. And then we're mostly just drawing against Dollander for the rest of those innings, or the bullpen, which would be even better. Plenty of upside to get to bullpen arms here if you're drawing Padres shares. Xander Bogaerts, just okay, 37-26. Not exactly the picture of an upside shortstop, but on a 3-game slate, entirely playable and an easy, cheap way to access a discount on some Padres bats. Gavin Sheets at 32-24, coming off a good year, off to a bad start, but we know there's a better hitter there in terms of the hit tool. Medium grade type power from the left side, fire away against Chase Dollander. Nicky Castellanos, kind of an outfielder, just another outfielder at the absolute best. Playability on a short slate. Same thing with Ty France at first base on both sides. Cheap. Little bit of maybe playability, a couple good batted ball events, it looks like, in his 8 plate appearances so far, but that's about it. Last year, pretty disappointing. 7 home runs over 490 plate appearances, 257, 323, 360, and 92 WRC plus. In his good years, he's hitting for average, not really worried about power. Comes away with maybe 8 to 10 home runs. But we're not really seeing that guy anymore. So I don't love the France option, but he is very, very cheap if you need to fill first base as your last man in. And then Freddie Fermin, if you need a cheapo catcher, at least has the ability to hit for average. In the past couple of seasons, he's limited strikeout pretty effectively, puts decent enough bat on ball to come away with base hits, hit 251, 297, 339 last year, and a relatively special for a cheap backup catcher type, 271, 319, 386. Just a .094 ISO and a 91 WRC plus. Don't get me wrong. This is nobody's idea of a star. It's just a spot filler at 2,300 who might come away with 2 singles today, double into the gap maybe. Nobody's saying he's going to have a monster day, but for that price to fill a position that's required on DK, he's at least on the board. Nothing like ending a show with Freddie Fermin. Nothing wrong with Freddie Fermin either, though. Anything going on out there? Any questions? Any... Yeah, San Diego notoriously has been a pitcher-friendly park for all time. But I didn't really want to take one of the Royals because they're going to be so highly totaled and so chalky. I don't really want to draw down in that Mets-Diamondbacks game because I wanted to talk about the pitching in that one. So I've just kind of got to massage it a little bit, and there were only so many places you could go. And again, I just really like the upside. The Rockies were showing out a little bit in the home run model. They were showing out a little bit in terms of the overall totals as a low-end stack. I like them a little bit better, I think, than the more highly totaled White Sox. Vegas has it almost 3/4 of a run in the White Sox favor. So again, watch out for it. No guarantees. We're just talking DFS angles here. This is not me thumping my chest saying go bet your life savings on the Colorado Rockies on the money line today. That is not the case. Not the show we're doing. Yeah, Chad, that's just working off of the projected lineup. We don't have the confirmed lineup for the Rockies yet. I would expect him to, though. Again, a lefty against the low-end righty. I don't know why he wouldn't. Larry drafted Moniak on the NFBC team and Dynasty team. I love it. I was trying to acquire him ahead of last year in the Dynasty League, and it didn't work out. He was just a buck, I think, as a keeper. I was trying to get Joe Adell ahead of last year, too. This year was more successful in acquiring the guys I wanted. It was O'Neal Cruz and my guy, Jordan Walker, hit another home run yesterday. How about our guy? How about our boy? He's all grown up. I love it. Love it. Knock on wood. Don't want to get too excited and jinx the breakout, but he's looking really good to start the season. That's one of our guys. Yeah, Erod, maybe a little surprising to see him where he is. But again, if you put another 6 pitchers above them on this slate from 30 to 35, it wouldn't look all that weird to have Erod kind of just in the middle of the board on a deeper slate. It's just how short this pitching slate is that he looks a little bit miscast in that 2 spot. But I love the price. I don't mind the matchup against the Soto-less Mets. They're obviously very good bats in that lineup up and down. But Erod's shown the talent over the years, even if he wasn't off to a hot start. I'd probably still be talking about Erod's at least usability here. And since the hot start is not based on like 2 big time upside weird strikeout games and he just looks like normal Erod out there, he's made, at least in the small sample, noteworthy changes in something very sustainable, which is his pitch mix, what he chooses to throw. Whether or not those pitches are effective when he throws them is where the rubber meets the road on something like this. But just because it's based on how those pitches are mixed, it's at least worth talking through. It's at least interesting at those prices, even though he's facing the Mets, and they're pretty good. Larry's got Jordan Walker too. Love it. Got to be enjoying that. He's in the starting lineup for the Dynasty team this week. So that's probably about it, guys. I do need to grab these 15 minutes to go knock out the end of NBA projections. If you're looking for those, they'll be up on the site in the next little bit. Short little 5-gamer over in the NBA. Hopefully we get this Rockies lineup in the next couple of minutes. I'll pop that up on the website along with the currently confirmed lineups that aren't there yet as soon as I finish talking here. One last time. Promo been crawling across the bottom of your screen all show long, but if you haven't noticed, $2 first week on a weekly plan. It's a 1-day special just for the short slate today. Promo code is TURN2, just like you see it right there, scrolling underneath my face right now. Turn with a capital T and the number 2. TURN2 gets you a $2 first week. You get behind the scenes, you get access to everything. That's an all-in price. It'll renew at $6.93 a week next Thursday if you don't cancel it. Hopefully you've enjoyed and succeeded with what you get, but it gets you all the MLB projections for pitchers, for hitters. You get these different dashboards as snapshots so you can see all these statistics laid out next to the pricing, next to the positioning and everything for every single game that goes on every day. You get my home run picks, 1 from every team, plus the overall from the day, top stack rankings, power index. You also get NBA projections for every main slate and NHL projections for every main slate. NHL was a beast with 14 games on DraftKings today. Thanks a lot. You guys rock out there. Good luck. Somebody go win something. Share those results when you do. We'll be back tomorrow for a Meteor Friday slate to talk through. Should be a fun one. I'll see you guys.